Hi, I'm Rose, and I was born in England. You have such a beautiful baby. Dad died shortly before I was born. Mom and Grandpa raised me. Grandpa was an aristocrat and owned a mansion. I grew up surrounded by luxury and servants. Here's your dessert, young lady. It might seem like a dream come true to many of you, but I hated living like that. Rose, remember to mind your manners. Being born into a family of aristocrats felt like a punishment to me. I didn't go to school and I studied remotely. Besides ordinary subjects, I had to learn etiquette rules as well. Stop this right now! Catch me if you can! All those stupid rules seemed boring to me. I like to have fun. One day, I snuck into our stables and I got on a horse. Long live freedom! The horse suddenly galloped ahead. I almost fell off it, but the groom's son saved me. His name was Kale. You idiot! My dad would have gotten the blame if you broke your neck. It's like you care more about your dad than you do about my neck. My goodness! You look terrible! And you smell like horses. Go take a shower. You should always look beautiful and feminine. Ugh. I'd rather smell like horses. One day, I found a puppy by our gates. It looked miserable, and I snuck him into our yard. What are you doing here? Did you pick up this flea bag? Why? Will you snitch on me? Kale looked at me for a long time, and then suddenly sat down next to me. He looks ill. I'll go to the vet and buy some medicine. We took care of the puppy together. That was the beginning of our friendship. Of course, no one knew I hung out with Kale. I studied during the day and snuck out with Kale in the evenings. We rode horses and had a lot of fun. One day, I'll get rich, and no one will look down on me anymore. I'll succeed too. I don't want to just be a beautiful doll. I liked to secretly watch Grandpa do business and read books from our family library. When I turned 14, Grandpa threw a party in my honor and invited girls from wealthy families to it. They were so insufferable, it drove me up the wall. They made the dress half a ton darker than I wanted. Can you imagine? My driver came for me in a white limousine, even though I asked for a pink one. However, did you survive? Soon enough, musicians arrived and started to play live music. Rose, you should listen to the classics. It was torture. I was a rock fan. She's so pretty. You'll easily find her good husband. We live in the 21st century. I want to be independent, and I'm not looking for a husband. Eventually, I couldn't stand it any longer, and I snuck away. Kale was waiting for me outside. I have a surprise for you. Kale prepared a picnic for us by the lake. We were having fun and eating delicious food. Before I knew it, our faces were very close. Kale took my hand and I kissed him on the cheek. I suddenly realized I'd fallen for him. My heart was pounding. Rose, where were you? And what were you doing with that groom? We just went for a walk. Go to your room now. The next morning, I snuck out of my room and came to the stables. I wanted to talk to Kale, but then I saw him and his father putting their things in a truck. What's happening? Your grandfather kicked us out. He thinks I'm distracting you. What? That's not fair. Rose, you're supposed to be studying. I don't care. You can't fire them. In fact, I can, and I already have. You can't control who I'm friends with. Grandpa suddenly turned red as a lobster and clutched at his heart. See what you've done. I'll write to you. I promise. I'll be waiting. Kale lied. Weeks went by, but I didn't get a single letter from him. I didn't know where he was, and I didn't have his number. Mom and Grandpa didn't let me use social media. It made me want to rip my hair out. One morning, I was standing by our gates and waiting for the mailman as usual. Rose, when will this stop? Kale forgot about you. At first, I didn't believe it, but eventually I started to think Mom was right. It hurt, but I decided to focus on my studies. One day, Mom and I went shopping and I noticed a small shop among the boutiques. It was selling handmade scented candles. I felt like I'd stepped into another world. That evening, I bought an online candle making course. It took some trial and error, but after several attempts, my candles were not too shabby. This candle's gonna smell like autumn. I should add some cinnamon. I dreamed of opening a candle shop. No one would see me as just a beautiful doll anymore. When I turned 17, Grandpa died. We weren't close, but I was still sad. Mom wouldn't stop sobbing. I need to order a new cream. My skin is dry from all the crying. Mom didn't know anything about Grandpa's business, so his deputy, Mr. Jones, took care of it. Soon, I noticed that he was acting weird. I saw Mr. Jones talking to some suspicious people, and one day, I even caught him burning some documents. What are you doing? That's none of your business, girlie. When I told Mom about it, she didn't believe me. Nonsense! I trust Mr. Jones. You can probably guess what happened next. One morning, Mom burst into my room. She wasn't wearing makeup and didn't have a mask on her face. I had never seen her so disheveled. My lawyer just called. Mr. Jones stole our inheritance. We're left with nothing. We had to move into a small house. It was the only thing we had left. What should we do now? Why don't you get a job? Are you crazy? All I know is how to look pretty. I'll probably have to transfer to a regular school. This is humiliating. And then I got an idea. I still had the candles I made. I tried to sell them, but barely made any money. One day, Mom went somewhere and came back looking suspiciously happy. Here, what's this? Tickets to a charity event. Everyone who's anyone is going there. You do remember we're poor now, right? I still have some money saved up. We have a reputation to uphold. Until the press finds out about Mr. Jones, no one's going to suspect anything. Mom's idea seemed silly to me. Still, I had no choice but to go with her. While Mom was chatting with the guests, I was standing to the side. Then I saw a gorgeous guy. Our eyes met. Kale? Hello, Rose. What are you doing here? It turned out his dad had gotten rich in the past couple years. His family now owned stables all over England. I'm even richer than you now. I'm so happy for you. I always knew you had great potential. Oh, really? Kale and Rose were so close, remember? I'm sure they still have a lot in common. Mom, over the next few days, Mom arranged accidental meetings for me and Kale. We ran into each other at the cinema, in a store, and in a parking lot. Mom should have become a tracker. Jeez, stop doing that! If you and Kale become an item, his dad will help us. If you want to get rich so much, marry his dad yourself. I'm not that pretty, unlike you. Kale won't be able to resist you. I don't want to hear it. To my surprise, Mom backed off. There were no more meetings for a few days, and then she brought me some tickets again. Where are you getting these? We're going on a sea cruise! These are luxury class. Aren't we broke? I still have some connections, so I got the tickets for free. I just want us to unwind and get our mind off things. For once, I agreed with Mom. I also wanted to leave, at least for a while. Soon, our cruise ship went to sea. After we checked into our cabins, I went out onto the upper deck to get some air. Are you stalking me? Mom was back at it again. I should have known. Don't flatter yourself. No, really, I think you've been following me around. You're so full of yourself. Kale's arrogance pissed me off, but it was Mom that truly made my blood boil. You need to be the best and get noticed by other boys to make Kale jealous. I don't need this. Mom didn't seem to hear me. This corset will make your waist look even smaller. That's not clothes. That's a torture instrument. That evening, everyone came to the restaurant for dinner, but I didn't want to see Kale, so I found a quiet place on the deck to hide in. I was sketching candle designs when a paper airplane suddenly hit me. You're very beautiful. I looked down in surprise and saw a handsome guy. He smiled at me and quickly climbed up. Hi, I'm Jack. He said my sketches were great, and then showed me his drawings. I'm an aspiring artist. I like your sketches. We were chatting when Kale suddenly appeared next to us. He threw a mocking look at Jack's arm. Judging by your bracelet, you're from a lower class. This deck is only for luxury passengers. Get lost. Or what? Or I'll call security, and you won't like that. You are so rude. Like you're any better. What's that supposed to mean? I sent you letters like I promised, but you said you didn't want to talk to someone as poor as me. What on earth are you talking about? I didn't write that, and I didn't get a single letter from you. I have a photo of the letter. I saved it as a reminder. When I looked at the photo, everything fell into place. That's Grandpa's handwriting. He probably intercepted your letters and wrote a reply on my behalf. Kale was as shocked as I was. I couldn't believe Grandpa had done that to me. Maybe we should go to the restaurant after all. During dinner, Kale suddenly asked me to dance. I'm sorry things turned out this way. Me too. As soon as I got back to my cabin, I pounced on Mom. Did you know that Kale wrote me letters? I had no idea, but it doesn't matter anymore. What matters is Kale is pining for you again. The next morning, Kale sent a lovely piece of jewelry to my cabin, and at breakfast he took my hand. I want to fix everything. For several days, Kale kept giving me cute gifts. Soon, our liner stopped in a beautiful city. Kale and I wandered the streets, took pictures, and chatted, just like in the good old days. I'm rich now. My dream came true. Mine hasn't yet. I still make candles and husband I want to open a store. You don't need to work though. Your mom's rich. I wanted to tell him the truth, but then Mom showed up and ruined the moment. When I came to breakfast the next morning, I immediately realized something was wrong. Kale was looking at me weird. You lost your inheritance. It's all over the front page. Now I know why you've been following us around. But you are poor now. You were just pretending, just like your mom. It wasn't like that. I tried to argue, but Kale wouldn't listen. Frustrated, I walked along the deck when Jack came up to me. Are you all right? No, I'm really not. When I told him about my problems, Jack invited me to the lower deck. Some teenagers had thrown a party there. Of course, I followed him. Come on, rock out. That was easy. They were listening to my favorite bands. I forgot all about my problems for a while and simply let loose. Those guys were fun, unlike the people I was usually surrounded by. To be honest, my aunt and I won the tickets for this cruise. We're poor, but we don't let it bother us and just enjoy every moment. I think that's great. Jack walked me back to my cabin. Unfortunately, Mom saw him and lost it. Why would you hang around someone penniless when you could spend time trying to build a relationship with Kale? How could you be so stupid? Leave me alone. At night, I was woken up by a knock on my door. I want to show you something. It's beautiful, isn't it? It is. You know, I don't want to live with Mom anymore. She's acting crazy. You could stay with us for a while. I'll talk to my aunt. She's cool. She won't mind. You could come back home after things calm down a bit. It seemed like a crazy idea to me. I'll think about it. All of a sudden, the ship jolted and we staggered. What's going on? We came down to the middle deck and saw other nervous passengers. Please put on the life jackets. What happened? A minor issue. It's nothing to worry. I'm too young and beautiful to die. The ship is supposedly very sturdy. It won't sink. Oh. Careful. There were several more jolts over the next few minutes, and then everything went quiet. I told you it was fine. They must have fixed the issue. Phew. The next day, we docked at the shore. I decided it was time to act. So I snuck away and I left with Jack and his aunt. I sent a message to Mom asking her not to look for me. Please call my mom. Tell her I'm fine and that she shouldn't worry. Of course, sweetie. Jack's aunt owned a small, cozy farm. I'd never felt so free. I finally made accounts on social media and I started promoting my candles. The things about developing a business that I'd learned in Grandpa's library came in handy.
Soon, I got my first orders and earned my first money.
Congratulations. Could you lend me some money? We don't have enough to pay bills this month. Sure, no problem. After a while, Jack asked me for money again. At first, I didn't think much of it, but then I noticed that his aunt didn't work, and Jack didn't do anything either. Why aren't you drawing? You could sell your paintings. Inspiration hasn't hit me yet. One day, I delivered some candles to the city center, and when I got back, I accidentally overheard Jack talking to his aunt. Luckily, Rosa left me her mom's number. I'll call her and demand money soon. Let her pay if she wants her daughter to come home. We're gonna be rich. My blood ran cold. I couldn't believe my ears. I felt disgusted, like a fat slug had crawled over me. Rose, wait. I've heard enough. Goodbye. I hailed a taxi and I came home to Mom. Oh my God, Rose! Where have you been? I was worried out of my mind. It turned out I'd missed a lot. On the ship, Mom had met a rich man who proposed to her. She stopped nagging me after that. Soon, her fiance brought us to a dinner party and I bumped into Kale there. I'm sorry I was such an idiot. I thought about everything and realized you weren't lying to me. Let's go out on a date. It's too late. I really was in love with you, but that's in the past. After the wedding, Mom moved in with her husband, and I decided to live alone. Thanks to my candles, I earned enough money to go to a university. I'm gonna open a store soon, just like I always wanted. I also film videos about making candles, and I post them on my YouTube channel. Would you subscribe to me?